Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and I want to welcome you all to Success Mentorship Class number 331. Wow. Success Mentorship Class number 331. That's what, about 6 years that we've been doing our classes together. So thank you so much for being with us today. Our topic for today is what you accept, you get. I'll say that again. What you accept, you get. It's, of course, based on our book and many other teachings, the 12 Universal Laws of Success. And it is based on our series that we've been doing this whole year on success mentorship classes designed to help you go from where you are to where you want to be. And more information is available on our website, herbertharris.com. And on the website, you can see a button to say book a call. Click on that and you can schedule a success consultation with me. And that consultation may be just what you need to transform your life. Before we get started, let us do our meditation to put us in the proper framework, the proper state of mind to take this journey together. Let's sit straight up in our seats. Close our outer eyes. Open our inner eyes. Take a deep breath and hold it. Let it out slowly. Take a deep breath and hold it. Let it out slowly. And in this space of peace and relaxation, I am at peace with myself. Let us affirm that together. I am at peace with myself. And just let that peace sink in. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And in this state of peace and relaxation, my mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Let us affirm that together. My mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And so it is. Wow. This morning, this topic today is one that has really been in my spirit, on my mind for quite some time. And the reason that we picked this topic is that each stage, each week of this journey, we try to give you more tools, more capacity to create the success you desire in your life. Mark Graban had a great quote. He wrote a book called Measures of Success. Yeah, and another one called Mistakes That Make Us. I think we all could have written that book. He said, you get what you expect, and you deserve what you tolerate. You get what you expect, and you deserve what you tolerate. Let me welcome some of our guests on Instagram. Good morning, Instagram friends and family. And also our guests on Facebook. Good morning, Facebook friends and family. And of course, our special team, our special members of the Success Mentorship Network who are with us on Zoom and who will be sharing some super powerful dialogue. So with this quote, this topic follows last week's message, which was be the student of you. Last week we talked about the fact that you must learn about yourself, as the great Greek philosopher said, know thyself. And that everything that happens to you on this journey of life is really an evolution of yourself, a growth of yourself from who you are to whomever you want to be. But this week's topic, what you accept, you get. We're drilling down now to some of those underlying vibrations, some of that underlying stuff that can be holding us back, that can be keeping us from achieving the goals that we desire to achieve this year. It's the most powerful lesson because we learn the power of expectation. And you know, the power of expectation is profound because it is a thought. Whatever you expect is a thought that you project. And based on the law of manifestation, if it's a thought that you project, you create a vibration that attracts that very thing into your experience. My dad used to talk about, he said, some people talk in the path and walk in the grass. I'm like, well, what do you mean, Pop? When you talk in the path, that means you speak the words, but when you walk in the grass, you don't live the words. The words are not a part of your life experience. They're just words. So you often say, well, how do you know if a person is talking in the path and walking in the grass? Well, you know, because of what manifests in their lives. If you're saying one thing and then doing another, the results you get are based on what you do rather than what you say. That first law of success says a mind shall have whatsoever it thinks in its heart. And so when there's a conflict between your thinking, the words you say, and your feelings, your feeling of worthiness, then guess what you get? You get the results that are congruent with your feelings. And so now as we face these next 6 months, this is the last Saturday of the month. This is actually one of those rare times where you have a 5th Saturday. And we are now preparing to move into the second part of this year. Now, what we did for the first 6 months is up to you. You know what you've done. You know how successful you've been at it. And so as a result, where you move into next month determines on what you've done this month. You start next month exactly where you end this month. And so when we say what you accept, you get. Now at the midpoint of this year, what should we do? Number one, we need to assess where we are. Assess our current situation. You know, it's like a GPS. When you have your success GPS, like your automobile GPS, the GPS requires 2 things. It requires a result or a destination, and it requires a location. Your GPS is worthless without a location and a destination. And so on your journey through life, you have to be aware of where you are to determine what is necessary to get where you want to go. That means you got to be honest with yourself. And that's why last week's message was so profound. If you are not honest with yourself, if you lie to yourself, then you are talking in the path, but walking in the grass. Once we assess where we are, being honest with ourselves, we now have to address it. Why are we where we are? And how did we get here? So when we look at these first 6 months of the year, and I'm sure you had a 4-year goal. If you didn't have a 4-year goal, that might be the reason why you are where you are right now. but you must look at your full year goal. And if you didn't have one, the beautiful thing about life, Mary Pickford said, you can't make a new beginning, but you can always create a new ending. So even if you've been an abject failure this year and nothing has gone right for you, you can make a decision now to change all that and put yourself on a 6-month trajectory to make it happen. So once you've addressed it, then the third thing you have to do is to determine what you need to change, what steps you have to make, and what steps you have to take to change your trajectory, to change the thoughts that have been controlling your life, to change the emotions that have been controlling your life, to change the actions that you have been engaging in, and to change the relationships that may be impacting all that you do. And then the fourth step, you got to fix it. And that's probably the hardest part. That once you've gone through those first 3 steps and you know now what you need to do, you've got to do it. The rubber hits the road. No matter how much analysis and study and investigations you do, if you don't take action on it, it does not change. So if we do not address whatever is holding us back, whatever is keeping us stuck in a loop of disappointment and failure, it will continue. You see, if you don't fix it, it will stay broken. You know, you often, I know as kids, kids may have a little twerk or something about them, and your parents often say, "Oh, well, you'll grow out of it." Well, in life, you don't grow out of it. You have to actively change it yourself. If you don't affirmatively take charge of your life and take actions to change the things that you don't like, to make decisions to go for the things that you desire, it won't happen. So, what did we do? Well, we are where we are right now based on 3 key things: our choices, our actions, and our state of mind. I'll say that again. We are where we are right now because of our choices, our actions, and our state of mind. So when we recognize this, then we see the importance of our choices and our actions and our state of mind. If that's what got us where we are, then the thing that would take us where we want to go is to take control of our thoughts, our choices, our actions, and our state of mind, our way of thinking. This idea of what you accept, you get now says that the life that you live must be affirmatively created. Because if it's not, if you don't take action to create the life you desire, to live a life by design, you'll get something else that you may not want. So let's look at this idea. When we talk about what you accept, you get. The first key is what you accept from other people, the behaviors of other people in interacting with you. When we accept certain behaviors that are not positive, when we accept behaviors that are destructive, that hurt us, people are being abusive relationships, and not all of them are physical. It may be psychological, emotional. But whatever we accept about other people's behavior is an implicit agreement that we agree with it. So if someone treats us badly, abuses us, and we stay around, then we accepting that becomes our reality. Whatever you accept, you get. And so this idea of the behavior of other people and its impact on your life. With young people, so many times we say, oh, they were hanging out with the wrong people, the wrong associations. And so behaviors of other people can either lift you up or tear you down. We have to create personal boundaries. We have to actually teach other people how to treat us. Because whatever we accept from them, that particular behavior that we accept is reinforced and will become a regular feature of your relationship. So if you ever noticed, if you don't stand up for yourself against a bully, then that bully will always attack you. That bully will always be waiting there around the corner. The moment you stand up to that bully, there's no longer a bully there attacking you. When you confront that bully, then you have scared him away or her away. Whatever the bully is, until you face it and confront it, you'll keep getting the same results. So let's say this: behaviors we accept, we perpetuate. So any relationship we have with other people, any behaviors that we accept from them that's not positive for us, that's not uplifting for us, that does not help us move to our higher good, if we accept it, it will perpetuate. And not only that, it will grow. So we must define and enforce the barriers that we have for other people in dealing with us. We must create boundaries that protect us, to protect our mental state, to protect our emotional state, that protect our health, our physical state. Very often in relationships, people think that folks are going to change, but when you see how relationships happen, if you don't see the change in the other person, and see, when you accept it, they're not going to change. And that means now you have to make a choice. Remember, we are where we are because of the choices, the actions, and the state of mind. So now you can choose to stay or choose to go. But know that whatever behavior you accept will perpetuate. Second, acceptance of your own behavior. In other words, how we treat ourselves, our own expectations for ourselves. That's a powerful thought, folks, because what we accept, we get. And so in dealing with ourselves, if we permit ourselves to accept mediocrity, if we permit ourselves to accept less than our very best, then guess what happens? We get it all the way. We get stuck in a sea of mediocrity. So we must establish boundaries for ourselves. We must establish rules for ourselves to say, this is what I expect from myself. That if I'm going to go and get myself involved in any program, any project, I'm going to give it all. I'm going to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to get there. If we accept less than our own potential, we create mediocrity. Reverend Ike used to say, you can't make excuses and make progress. And so when you accept your own mediocre performance, you perpetuate it. And eventually you get yourself into a rut where you keep doing the mediocre performance over and over. So you always expect mediocrity and you get mediocrity. And then you start making excuses for it. I can't, I can't do this because I'm white, I'm black, I'm tall, I'm short. I used to think of the basketball player, a fellow named Muggsy Bowles. His goal was to be a professional basketball player, and I think he was only 5'6" or 5'7". And when he said that, I'm sure people laughed. Yeah, you're going to the NBA. Wow. Okay. But Muggsy Bowles had an expectation of himself. He expected to be in the NBA. And whatever you expect about yourself, you project that into your self-worth. And guess what? He became a star in the NBA. He was playing against 7-footers, and he succeeded and became quite a successful player. And so this idea of personal expectations for yourself can be a source of great power as you move through this next year. When you expect the best, you get the best. But if you expect the less, you get the less also. You know, people who get involved in sales, one of the reasons people don't like sales is they say, oh man, you know, I'm not into this sales thing. I don't like disappointment. I don't like when people reject what I'm offering. And one of the reasons that people don't like sales is because sales give you proof positive of the results of your efforts. You see, when you're in a job, as long as you behave and deliver just enough excellence to not get fired, you're good. But when you're working for yourself, when you're in sales, when you're an entrepreneur, if you do just enough, you're going to never be successful. So the idea is we must create standards and boundaries for ourselves as far as our level of professionalism, our level uh, of 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 activity, our level of commitment. So whatever we expect from ourselves, we get. So expect success. And then third, what we expect from the world. Now, this is a very profound piece, folks, because we live in a field of vibrations, an energy field. And how we respond to that energy field determines the level of success that we have in our lives, how fulfilled our lives are. If we do not set boundaries and levels of performance for ourselves over these next 6 months, then the world mind will determine our level of success. In your job, if you don't approach your job with, where do I want to go next? Why am I on this job? Why is it important to me? What connections can I make? What skills can I get? If it's just a job to pay the bills, guess what? The world's going to treat you accordingly. You know, the interesting thing about a job is if you deliver just enough to keep from getting fired, they're only going to pay you just enough to keep you from quitting. So you'll never soar, you'll never move up the scale. In your profession, in the world, the structures that deal with you, if you don't have a level of expectation that's congruent with the person you want to be and with your potential, the world will deal with you in a certain way. Those who know me know that I always travel suited and booted. Wherever I'm going, on an airplane, on a train, wherever I am, travel suited and booted. Say, well, why do you do that, Doc? Because I have found that based on the way you look, people treat you differently. I was flying back from Kansas City last week, and I decided to wear a white linen suit with a purple tie. When I got to the airport, and I was flying, what do you call it, regular. I wasn't flying first class or anything like that. But when I walked up to the counter, just based on the way I looked, her perception of me. You see, when we dress, we often say, I dress to be comfortable. But how you project yourself impacts how the world responds to you. You may slither up there in a jogging suit, and the world responds to you like a jogging suit person. But when you slither up there, and you don't slither, you walk up there in a white satin suit, a white linen suit, they respond to you differently. You know what the lady said? She said, oh, Mr. Harris, she said, if we have an extra seat in first class, I'll assign it to you. Is that okay? no charge. She was just responding to her perception of how I looked. So this idea of expectations creating the life you experience, how you dress creates an expectation of who you are. So now let's put it all together here. We must set boundaries dealing with other people. Dr. Phil said this. He said, you teach other people how to treat you. We must set boundaries in dealing with ourselves so that we always put ourselves at the level that we do our very best, that we never accept less than the best. And we must set boundaries on the world so that the world responds to us in a way that is comfortable for us, that supports us. So finally, what are the steps to help you reprogram yourself so that you are truly using the power of expectation to create your life you desire? Step one, self-reflection. As you move through over these next 6 months, as you move through life, regularly assess what you are accepting from other people, from yourself, and from the world. Look for patterns. Look for patterns. Maybe you're always late. That's a pattern. The world responds to you in a certain kind of way. You'll find that you're always late and always unprepared. The world responds to you accordingly. You'll never get the gold ring. So self-reflection, look at your patterns, anything that may be hindering your growth. Step two, define your boundaries. You see, the boundaries that we define depend on how we feel about ourselves, our self-worth, and how we feel about ourselves, our self-esteem, our self-worth. Everything we interact with is interpreted through that. So if you feel a low self-worth, then they'll take advantage of you on your job. They'll know they can give you as much work as they can stand, and you'll do it and never complain. When you set boundaries for how other people deal with you, they learn who you are and what you're about. And they either handle it and make the changes necessary to interact with you in a positive way, or you get out of there. You know, sometimes you may end up being in a situation where you can't leave then. But if it's not conducive to your growth, prepare to leave soon. Your boundaries reflect your values, value for yourself, and your priorities. What's important to you? So define your boundaries clearly. Number three, let the world know. Communicate your boundaries. You know, so often people challenge you. You always have Goliaths. Sometimes you have these big Goliaths that challenge you so that the David in you has to come out. But people challenge you in little ways. And so you always communicate who you are. You know, the moment a person steps out of line, recognize that any behavior that's not positive to you, that you don't confront, it will come back. And so learn how to stop, and that's not for me. You know, sometimes you'll be around people and folks will say, oh, you know, life is hard. You're like, not my life. Okay. Someone says, life is hard. God said, well, compared to what? So define and communicate your boundaries. Let people know. Let them know on your job. And they say, Harris is going to be here on time. He's going to do his work. Okay. But he's not going to let you abuse him. He's not going to let you take advantage. And he's going to tell you he needs a raise. He's going to add value to anything you're doing. Number four, be consistent. You see, when you define your boundaries, people respond to you based on your consistency. And it's a reason, I don't know why people always test you and situations always test you. When I practiced law, My uncle used to tell me, he said, when you're trying a case, he says, you have to beat these guys. And he says, it's funny, once you beat them in a case, after that, they become very cooperative. When you need a settlement, they go like, yeah, give Sneed whatever he wants. He says, but 6 months or so down the line, they'll challenge you again. And so you have to always be consistent so people know who you are. If you're not clear on who you are, then people don't really know how to respond to you, and they'll give you any piece of junk. And then finally, number 5, embrace growth. You don't get to Rome overnight. It's all about growing through the situations that confront you. Anything you can grow through, you can go to. And the interesting thing about growth is like climbing mountains. Once you get to the top of one mountain, what you see is, oh my goodness, there's another mountain. And when you get to the top of that mountain, you're like, oh my goodness, there's another mountain. And so to understand that this growth process now is about taking who you are, defining yourself in a way that's positive and uplifting to you, demanding that all the people who interact with you, that the world responds to you in a way that's congruent with your values and your priorities, and then resolve to keep going and growing. Only success, only results. When you can do these things, when you can self-reflect, when you can define your boundaries, when you can let the world know who you are and be consistent with who you are, and your growth takes place as you put yourself in that situation where you're surrounded with people who would challenge you, but every time you overcome the challenge, you become stronger and you rise higher. When you can do that, nothing is impossible. When you can use the power of expectation to create through your expectations a world exactly the way you want it to be, nothing is impossible. And you can truly be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have anything you desire, always knowing that the best is yet to come. Just take a deep breath for a moment and let that sink in. So it is. Thank you so much on Instagram, on Facebook. Be sure to visit our website, herbertharris.com. Write some commentary. All right, someone, Dr. Rogers on Instagram said Muggsy Bowles was 5'3". 5'3", and yet he made it to the NBA. His expectations gave him what his physical body didn't. Thanks, Dr. Rogers. So on Instagram, on Facebook, write some comments, share this message with other people. Those of you on Zoom, hang tight. We're going to have our powerful discussion with our mastermind group. Whatever you do, reach out to our website, herbertharris.com. Be sure to get a copy of the 12 Universal Laws of Success. Book a success call with me. I'd love to share with you and talk with you and see if there's any way we can be of service to help you be what you want to be, do what you want to do, and have anything you desire. Always knowing that the best is yet to come. So it is. Hold on Zoom. We're going to have our powerful discussion.